Putin says loss of trust in West will make future Ukraine talks harder. Reuters, London on Friday, President Vladimir Putin stated that although communications between Russian and American intelligence services were at least continuing, Russia's nearly total loss of trust in the West would make an eventual solution over Ukraine much tougher to reach. Putin has framed his more than 9-month-old invasion of Ukraine as a struggle to defend Russia against an aggressive collective West after suffering a string of combat setbacks. Putin lamented the failure of the Minsk agreements, which were brokered in 2014 and 2015 by Russia, France, and Germany at the beginning of the conflict with Ukraine, and called for a ceasefire and constitutional reforms between Kyiv and Russian-backed separatist forces in eastern Ukraine, at a press conference in the Kyrgyz capital of Bishkek. "We thought we would still be able to agree within the framework of the Minsk peace agreements. What can you say? There is a question of trust," Putin said. And trust, of course, is almost at zero. Putin had been asked about remarks by former German Chancellor Angela Merkel, one of the agreement's sponsors, who told the Zeit magazine in an interview published on Wednesday that the 2014 agreement had been an attempt to give Ukraine time, which it had used to become more able to defend itself. Russian media and politicians have quickly construed this as a betrayal on Merkel's part. After a statement like that, the question arises of how to negotiate, about what, and is it possible to negotiate with someone, and where are the guarantees, he added. An agreement will have to be reached in the end, all the same. I have said many times that we are ready for these agreements, we are open, but this makes us think who we are dealing with. Both Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov and Deputy Defense Minister Sergei Ryabkov had already stressed on Friday that Thursday's release of U. Basketball star Brittany Griner from a Russian penal colony in exchange for Russian arms dealer Viktor Bout did not portend a wider thaw in poor bilateral relations. But Putin did say Russia was open to further such swaps, and that contacts between the respective intelligence services that agreed the Griner-Bout deal were continuing. In fact, they have never stopped, he said. A compromise was found, we do not reject continuing this work in the future. The highest-level face-to-face interaction between the two countries since Russia invaded Ukraine in February took place on November 14 in the Turkish capital Ankara between Sergei Narishkin, head of Russia's foreign intelligence, and William Burns, director of the U. Burns did not engage in discussions or negotiate a peace agreement to end the crisis in Ukraine, according to a White House official, but he did warn Russia not to jeopardize strategic stability by utilizing nuclear weapons there, and brought up the situations of Americans jailed in Russia. Afterward, Narishkin said that he and Burns had spoken about Ukraine and nuclear security. Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, has been disappointed by the statement of German ex-Chancellor Angela Merkel, where she claimed that the Minsk agreements of 2014 enabled Ukraine to prepare for the war with Russia. Source: Putin's response to a journalist's question. Quote, "For me, it was completely unexpected. It is disappointing. I did not expect to hear something like that from the ex-Chancellor. I always hoped that the German leadership was genuine. Yes, she was on Ukraine's side, supporting it. But nevertheless, I genuinely hoped that German leadership expected a settlement based on the principles achieved, among other things, during the Minsk negotiations." Quote, "I get the impression that nobody intended to uphold these Minsk agreements. The entire purpose of these activities, according to them, the participants said, who lied to us, was to arm Ukraine and prepare it for war." Maybe it was too late for us to realize what was going on. Perhaps it would have been better to start the conflict sooner. The Minsk agreements, which were signed in 2014, gave Ukraine valuable time to strengthen And the effects of this can now be seen, according to the former chancellor. She emphasized that Ukraine was particularly unstable in 2014 to 2015. Self-proclaimed president of Belarus Alexander Lukashenko reacted emotionally to Angela Merkel's